Welcome to Integrity Inspire, your daily dose of inspiration and motivation, featuring the bright and talented members of the Integrity Marketing Group family. Now, here's your host, Integrity co-founder and CEO, Bryan W. Adams.
Well, hey, thanks everybody for joining today's exciting podcast. Well, today I am so excited to welcome Miss Laura Kimble to the podcast. She is someone who has been part of the family, an insurance family that has made just huge waves in the insurance business over the years. Laura has worked closely with her dad, Larry, her brother, Ryan, her other brother, Zeke, and really who we talked with Ryan a couple of weeks ago on this podcast. It was funny. Ryan was giving me a hard time about how do we condense this podcast down and make it 15 minutes. And then Ryan got on here and it took 2 episodes because it's harder than it looks, people. But we heard from Ryan and just kind of the force that agent pipeline is in the Medicare market. And today we're blessed by getting to have Laura on the call as well to learn even more from her experiences from Agent Pipeline and just being in the business. Laura got in the business first back in 2000 in an administrative role and soon became an incredibly successful direct sales agent. Since becoming co-owner of Agent Pipeline in 2009, she's used her sales background to help the agency grow and expand and is responsible for the company's exclusive account and key partnership roles and relationships by working with their largest and most important agencies that they work with. Laura is truly a rising star in the insurance business and is easily one of the most accomplished women in our business today. And I'm personally very grateful that she and the rest of the amazing people at Agent Pipeline chose to join the Integrity family to make us all so much stronger together. So, Laura, thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the podcast. Really appreciate you being on.
Absolutely. It's an honor to be on the podcast today.
Well, so Laura, you know this, right? I want to make sure, I think I mentioned this on another podcast, but I want to make sure that everybody understands the genesis of this podcast and where it all came from. You and Ryan and I were on a call with talking about kind of our readiness plan. How do we prepare to work remote? What do we need to do? What type of systems do we need to have in place? All the different things that we were trying to scramble together and prepare for this time that we've been in for the last month or so, over a month. And one of the things we were talking about a lot of practical stuff about IT systems and phones and things of that nature. And I remember right where I was standing, and you said, you said something to this effect. I think we also need to take a few minutes every day that we can all come together and just share ideas and pray or take a moment of silence or just have some moment that we can all kind of inspire others and encourage others, I think how you put it. And that comment, frankly, kept me up that night of going, that's a great idea. And that is so important. We were thinking of all the practical stuff that needed to be done, but also the emotional things of really being able to come together is so important during times like these. And you are the mother of the Inspire podcast. And we wouldn't be here on this call and doing everything here without your idea at that. And so about this podcast. So thank you so much for doing this. It's I think it's been just an amazing opportunity for all of us to rally together, to share ideas, share best practices, but also just get to know each other a little bit more. So thank you very much, Laura. You're a leader and an amazing person, and we really appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much for your kind words. I think that my idea and you turning it into an absolutely fabulous podcast that people can be inspired from. All the guest speakers that have come on. I know that people in the Integrity family and all of the employees listen to it, but I think you'll hear insurance agents and just people around the country be inspired in years to come from the podcast and the different speakers that come on and tell their story about how they got in the industry and how they ever overcame obstacles in their lives.
Yeah, well, I agree, and that's certainly our hope here. And but thank you so much. I want to give credit where credit is due, and it's been a lot of fun. It's created kind of a second job for me, which is a whole other issue that I wasn't prepared for. It takes a lot more prep work for this to come together than I ever anticipated, but it's been so much fun, and really again appreciate your leadership. Well, Laura, like so many of our guests here on the Inspire podcast, insurance has been just a huge part of your family. It's really in your blood, I would say.
It is.
Was it always something that you planned on doing and kind of following in your family's footsteps?
Sure. So my path into the business wasn't exactly a straight line. I think when you're young, and I was in my early 20s, I knew that I loved sales, and I knew I loved helping people find solutions, right? And what I would actually do with those skills or desire to do that, I wasn't exactly sure. And when you're young, you hear the word insurance, it doesn't sound as appealing as it really is. I mean, insurance to me is sales, it's marketing, it's helping people. So sometimes, the connotation of insurance gets a bad rap, but I just absolutely love what I do. So when I found that helping people and just sales, it's something I absolutely fell in love with. I was blessed, though, when I was younger to have, and now, of course, to have amazing parents who helped me develop different qualities. So they reach a little bit different. And so my mom, she is my rock, and she really instilled in me emotional intelligence and how to work with people and how to read people, and faith. My Christian faith, she instilled that into me. And then my dad gave me just the confidence and pushed me to excel in everything. I mean, he instilled in me, confidence in our family name, confidence in who I was, and really made me push myself to be better. And one thing that always I think about when I think about him is when I was younger, and even now he'll still say it. If we're getting ready to do something, or when I was young, maybe I was going out for soccer, it doesn't matter what it was, he would always say, "You're a Kimble, you can do it." And at the time I was like, I didn't know what to think about that, but it's so funny. I have 3 kids now. They're 6, 8, and 10, and I do the exact same thing. I mean, we always do a high five before they go play soccer, and we all shout Kimble power, and I do that because my dad instilled that self-confidence and pride in the same way when I was young, and it's really carried into my adulthood. So I think more than anything, my parents gave me an entrepreneurial spirit. I mean, they both own their own business and were both very successful.
That is awesome. I love your dad. I love Larry. He is never lacking in confidence, and I love the fact that he instilled that in you guys as well, which is just so awesome. Now, your mom, so your mom was an entrepreneur as well. What kind of business was she in?
Sure. Yeah, we come from a long line of entrepreneurs. She is actually an artist, so she was a watercolor artist, and she ventured to glass blowing. So she's a retired glass blower now, but for many, many years, she created just beautiful pieces of art, glass art. She had her own factory. We actually had our own glass factory in our front yard growing up when I was in junior high and high school. It was an amazing experience, and she's very well known throughout the nation in the art industry, and especially the glass industry. So very proud of her. And one thing that I love about what she did is she was able to succeed in what's traditionally been a male-dominated industry, and it actually still is. I mean, in fact, in Italy, where the art form started, there was a time when women were not even allowed in a glass factory. They thought it was bad luck. Right. So very proud of my mom. She pushed through an apprentice to be a glass blower and became really, really good at it and found success and opened her own glass studio after that. So very proud of everything that she did in starting her own business as well.
Wow, that is amazing. I would love to see some of her work sometime. So I love the fact that you said that she taught you emotional intelligence, but you also said that a lot of your strong drive comes from her as well as your dad. But those are really 2 good compliments that you gave her for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. So she is definitely a rock in my life, and as well as my dad. They both, he taught me confidence, and she taught me how to be a strong woman. So both of those really go well together, especially in our industry in sales.
Yeah. So your strong drive comes from her as well as your dad, then.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So I come from a long line of strong women. Their courage and independence has rubbed off on me. Actually, my great grandmother, and so we're here in West Virginia, but so my great grandmother, she actually sold sandwiches on the Gauley River to provide for her family, right? So we're in a rural area. My grandmother, my nana, she moved from rural West Virginia by herself to the city, which is, where we are now in Charleston, and went to work at a very young age to make a living to support herself and really get out on her own. So, these are times when women really didn't do that, right? To take care of themselves. And so them, along with my mom, they've all been really great examples of how to be a strong woman. And I definitely draw on their strength all the time.
What you just reminded me of one of my favorite stories that you and Ryan have told me was about your grandmother, who's also an artist, right? And she's like a fabulous painter. And your brother Ryan wanted to buy you a painting that she made, and he went to ask her if he could have it or buy it from her, and she wouldn't give him a discount. She charged him full price. She refused to give her own grandson a discount on the painting he was buying for her granddaughter. So you do come from a strong line of woman.
Oh, absolutely. For sure. Absolutely. That's my dad's mom. So, she's a very, very well-rounded Italian woman, and she was not going to reduce that price at all. And you know what? I mean, I respect her for that. Absolutely. That's probably one of the things she instilled in my dad that made him successful in starting our agency.
I can just see Ryan. Oh my God, that is hilarious. Where nope, you got to pay full price if you want that painting. that is awesome. I love those examples. I mean, strong women are adding so much to our business. We're working on putting together this Women in Insurance Forum that we talked about with Maggie Fleming on a call the other day. And you are also one of the strongest women I know in the business. And really, I mean, part of the thought about this is that over 60% of our employees are women. Over half of our customers are women. We need to learn and give a forum for women to grow and prosper in the business, but also just look for ways for us to help make sure that we meet the needs of all of our clients out in the marketplace. And so I know we've talked about this, but I'm excited to have you as part of that. And so will you make sure that you're part of that leadership team and help us put together just an amazing women's forum to make sure that we give opportunities for the next generation of women in the business?
Oh, absolutely. I would be honored to be a part of that. And I agree. I mean, women have so much to offer in our business, and our voices need to be heard, and customers, employees. I mean, we make up a great percentage, but when you go to the industry conferences, we're definitely in the minority. So having a forum where our voices are heard is definitely a great thing. So I appreciate the honor.
Well, your voice is one of the most powerful around, and so thanks for your willingness to use it. We'll have more details about the Women's Forum that we're working on, ready to share soon. Just as an update, we're working very hard on that. Something that is just a huge passion for all of us here to make sure that we give that voice and really just that opportunity kind of going forward to make this not such a male-dominated industry, but also a much more well-rounded industry. And I can't wait to see what y'all come up with. Whatever resources you need, whatever support you need, on behalf of the entire board of directors and all the partners, I just want to make sure you and Maggie and Karen Fredericks and all the other powerful women here at Integrity know you have all of our support. So whatever you need, we are here to support you and make sure that you have that. Now, Laura, your background gave you a great foundation for success in this business, and you clearly used it to build a phenomenal career. Tell us how you got into the business. This is one of the things I don't know if a lot of people realize about you and how you got into the business. Tell us a little bit about that story.
Sure, absolutely. I've actually, probably done almost every job in our office at one point. So I started in the business back in 1999. I was 20 years old. At that point in my life, I think I was working in food prep at a catering restaurant. And so that point in my life, I had a little bit of a wild side and was too involved in the extracurricular side of college. So I ended up leaving college, and I really wanted a more stable job, an office job. And my dad, he took a chance on me and gave me a position as an administrative assistant with Agent Pipeline back in 1999. At that time, my job, agents would fax in the request for health insurance quotes, right? This is back before, many of our technologies, and they would fax in a quote, wanting a quote on health insurance. My job was to do the quote for them and fax it back to them. So I did that for several years. After a few years, definitely with God's help and His grace, I decided to leave my wild side behind, and I also wanted to break out of my own hometown and try and go stand on my own 2 feet. So at that point, I moved to Charlotte. Before I left, I sat down and talked to my dad about my desire to kind of leave where I was and break out and try something different on my own. And he gave me the best piece of advice. And I tell people this all the time whenever I do a training class about this. He said, he of course gave me his blessing to leave and his full support. He's always given me his support throughout my life when I make decisions, and he's always been there for me. But the piece of advice he gave me, he says, before you go, why don't you do this? Why don't you stay for an extra week, go to insurance school, get your insurance license so that when you get there, you actually have something that you can use, right? You can go and sell insurance on your own. You can go work for an agency. And man, he was right. So I did that. I stayed the extra week. I went to the insurance school. This was back when you actually had to sit in a classroom, right? And I got my insurance license and I moved. And that really gave me the love for marketing and sales. And that piece of advice for him, was a game changer for me. If I hadn't done that, I don't know, I could have ended up in Charlotte in the banking industry or in catering or who knows what. And I stayed in insurance, and my passion is sales and marketing. And I'm really just thankful that he gave me that piece of advice before I left. And I'm glad I took it.
Wow. Sometimes Father does know best, right? That puts you on a really solid career path, right? That's advice. You had to take it, but that's amazing.
Yeah, no, and I'm really glad that I did. So I was there, and at age 25, I was selling life and health insurance in Charlotte by day, and at night, going to school to finish my degree and really just trying to become a well-rounded young adult. So at this time, this was probably, 2005. It was the summer of 2005. And I get a call from my dad, and he says, why don't you move back to West Virginia and come back and work with me and work with Ryan? He says, there's something coming. It's called Medicare Advantage and Part D. And we don't know a lot about it, but we think it's going to be a really big opportunity. Will you come back? And boy, that was an understatement. That really excelled us. But it was so funny because at that time, I was making, decent money. I was probably a few years into my career, and I spent the next several days trying to negotiate with my dad because he wanted to pay me the same rate. And I was like, no, I want to get just a little bit more. And man, he is tough. So we negotiated for a few days, and I think I got just a few more dollars and finally said yes and came back.
Wait, so you had to negotiate your salary with your dad for a few days. So it sounds like a hard negotiation.
Oh man, absolutely. And now I see where his mom wouldn't reduce the payment. It's the same concept. So he made me work for everything that I've had, and I'm really grateful he did that. Throughout my career, I've probably done every role at our company, and nothing has been handed to me, right? And sometimes that's what's assumed from family business, but it's not. And he has pushed me hard every step of the way, and I'm really grateful for that. And so I negotiated that raise, or from what I had been making, which really wasn't much more. But at that time, I thought I was on top of the world, right? And so I came back, and I was young. I was hungry to win. I really wanted to show my dad and my brother Ryan that I was serious, and that, you know, I was a well-rounded young adult now, and I wasn't that wild person anymore. And so I was hungry to win, and I was hungry to show them that they made a good investment in me and coming back, and that I could be the one that could help them move Medicare Advantage and Part D forward. So when I came back, it's funny. Training today is so much different. But I came back and I sat in Ryan's office, and I was across the desk from him, and he was trying to explain to me what Medicare Advantage was, right? This is back when you had to explain it to everybody because nobody knew what it was. So he was explaining Medicare Advantage to me. And at that time, I was just so hungry. I read everything. I read the Medicare e-book. I read the Medicare Supplement Buyer's book. Anything I could get my hands on, I wanted to be the expert on that, right? And so that's what I did. I just read everything I possibly could. And, you know, the big thing for me, too, was listening, like paying attention to people who knew their stuff in the family and out. I mean, when I came back, we had a small office, right? So I could hear Ryan on the phone. I could hear my dad on the phone. I could hear J.R. Rucker and Karen Hendricks. They were there at the time on the phone with agents. And, you know, I am not unique, but one thing that I did is I listened, right? I listened to all the great salespeople I knew. I listened to what they said. I listened to how they talked. I listened to how they overcame objections. And I took that to heart, right? And I didn't just listen, right? I took notes. I took just copious amounts of notes on what people said, right? And I did that at work. I did that if I was out buying a piece of furniture. You know, you're with the salespeople person, and they're trying to sell you furniture. I did that at art expos. I listened to my brother Zeke and my mom as they're trying to talk to people about the glass art and selling that. And I took notes. And what I did is I crafted that into my own message. So nothing I said was unique. I love sales. I love to help people, and I also love to win. And so I took the best from what I heard from everyone and really just crafted it into my own. So not unique, but I just kept my ears up, and I made sure that I took a lot of notes, which I really think is a lost art right now.
Yeah, I think what you just said is profound, and I think it is a lost art. I really think it's such a lost art whenever there's so much noise in the world, right? And people want to talk and all this type of stuff, but listening is so important. It's easy to get caught up in your own thoughts and your own agenda and what's going on in your own world, but man, you can learn a ton from others if you're just willing to just like take a breath and let them share their thoughts and their wisdom. And really, I love the fact you're talking about even outside of just the business that we're in. Like, you were willing to listen to furniture salesmen and artists and wherever you were, like you just wanted to aggregate and gain all the knowledge you could to help you be successful. I think that is such a lost art, and listening is so important.
Oh, absolutely. That's so true. And it really helps to be surrounded by people who know their stuff. And there's a saying out there that says, stick with the winners, right? And so that's what every time I'm around salespeople, I look for the people that are at the top of the leaderboard, and I listen to those people and write down what they say. And even today, I mean, I have been instilled like a pretty big head with all the Kimble power, and you're a Kimble, right? And I love that. But I still listen to other people. I think I'm really good at sales, but I will still listen to what people have to say, whether that's somebody brand new to our office that is on the phone. I'm like, wow, I really like what that person said. I'm going to write that down, and I'm going to use that later. So part of it's just taking your ego, setting it aside, and listening to other people and using what they say. So I remember it was so funny when I got my very first contract back, my very first agent contract back. Man, I was so excited. I went and found my dad in the office, and I said, Dad, I was like, I got my first agent contract, and I was just excited. And he looks at me, very kind of monotone. He's like, well, that's great, but are they going to sell anything? And so that to me, I mean, that was a great reminder that long-term success is the most important metric. It drove me to work harder and make sure that agents were out there writing business, and that I was supporting them every way that I can. And I wasn't just somebody trying to give them a contract. I was somebody trying to help them grow their business and take it to the next level. So even though at the time it was, a little bit of a downer, man, I'm glad he said that to me, because it made me realize there's several more steps in the process that you have to have.
Yeah, absolutely. your point about stick with the winners. Craig Harvey said this on his call. He said, regardless where you go, all the athletes will find each other. The different people will find each other kind of in those different groups, and winners find each other. And that's one of the things I love about the Integrity platform and what we're building here is how many winners have come together, people who have just done amazing, amazing things, and they have chosen to check their ego at the door, as you said, to look at ways to learn from each other and how do we grow together. It's one of the reasons I think we're just so successful is because we've attracted so many people who are competitive, who want to win, want to do it the right way, and want to do it together. And that humility really, really makes a huge difference. So, listen, you were off and running in the business. What was the next step for your growth? Where did you guys go from there?
Sure. So after that, I mean, that realization that, there were more steps to the process, I committed myself to working really, really hard and setting goals. So one thing that I quickly realized is that I like to be number one. I like to be at the top of the list, right? And I knew, like, when I first came in, when I was a little bit unsure of my sales ability, I was listening to everyone, but one thing that was tangible, right? So what you say on the phone is not always tangible, but one thing that is tangible is your call volume. So for me, I realized that. I said, you know what? This is one thing that's tangible. I'm going to pick this one thing that I know that I can put on paper, and I'm going to make sure that I am the very best at it. I'm going to make sure that my call volume is the highest every single month. I'm going to be number one at that. I can't control the rest of it, but I can control this one piece. And that's what I did. I mean, for the next several years, I worked a lot. I worked from 7:30 in the morning to 8 o'clock every night, making sure, not only taking care of my agents, but making sure that I was hitting my goals, right? I even broke it down by hour. Like, at this point, I wanted to be number one. I wanted to prove myself in the industry. So I would sit at my desk and I would say, I'm going to make X number of calls this hour. If I do not hit this, I'm not going to get up and get a cup of coffee. I'm going to sit here and make it up on the next hour. And I did that, like, for several years. And that along with me listening to other people, taking notes and honing my own sales ability is really what paid off. I mean, it absolutely did pay off. I became the top salesperson in the company after that and kept that spot for several years. So, doing that and picking that one tangible thing and saying, hey, I'm going to be the best at this, right? And doing whatever it takes to get there is really, really important.
Man, listen, that if you don't get anything else out of this podcast, if you're listening right now, the fact that you focus on what you can control what you can control. You can't control whether somebody buys something from us. You can't control whether an agent wants to work with you. You can control how much effort you put in, how much time you put in, how much hard work you put in, how many calls you make, how many doors you knock on, whatever it is. That is such a valuable nugget of information that people need to focus on. Is people get caught up and, well, I'm not selling as much. I got caught up in this in my early days of, man, we're just not selling enough. The truth is, sales are a byproduct of how many presentations you're making, how many contacts you're making. And so if you make enough contacts, you reach out to enough people, you get enough opportunities to present to them, the sales will take care of themselves. That's a byproduct you can never control. And I just love that message. And so when you focused on that and you said, listen, I'm not getting up to have a cup of coffee. I'm not going to go to the bathroom because until I hit this number, that's the way you hit goals. So if you're a marketer on this call, if you're an agent on this call, like, that is such valuable lessons. And I tell you, the most successful agents in this business, most successful marketers I've seen follow that simple rule is I am just going to do whatever it takes to get this done, and I'm not going to go to bed at night until I finish this. I'm not going to get up and have a drink. I'm not going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to follow through and get this done, and then I'll take a break. And if you can do that, man, you can be incredibly successful. So Laura, like, listen, as you've grown and continue to grow in the business, and so, I mean, you went from doing, administrative roles to becoming the top salesperson in one of the largest and top agencies in America, and now you're you're co-owner of one of the largest agencies in America. What would you say has been and continues to be your key to that, the key to that success that you've had?
Sure. The success I've been able to achieve has really just exceeded my wildest dreams. I mean, it's more than I ever thought. Like, I set goals for myself when I was in my early 20s. I mean, it's far surpassed that, and that all came from setting goals is just a big part of it. Keeping your ears up and, man, take notes. Like, take notes on what people say. You have to be able to set your ego aside. Listening from others and being willing to take their suggestions too is a huge key. So some people, sometimes it's hard when somebody tells you, you should do this differently on the phone. Man, people tell me that all the time. And sometimes it kind of hurts your ego, but you got to be able to willing to listen and take suggestions and want to succeed at that. And, I can't say all that without saying, my faith in God and just the doors that I feel like He's opened up for me is a huge part of my success. I couldn't be anywhere without that and the support of my family.
Yeah, amen to that. That's for sure. Well, work hard, set goals, listen to others, keep your ears up. Keep your ears up. I love that. Well, now, Laura, you're one of the ones that people are listening to, and you are a terrific teacher. Thank you so much for sharing with us your keys to success, and thank you for just being you. You are just such an inspirational person to me, and I think everybody on this call. And so, thanks for being such a terrific teacher to us, and for just being such a great leader in the Integrity family.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me. And there are so many great teachers out there that we can all learn from in this organization. And our whole family is great to be, grateful to be a part of the Integrity family. So glad that we made that decision. So thank you so much for having me. And I would like to especially thank my family, my spouse Blair, and our 3 kids, Asher, Levi, and Malia, for helping me be the successful person that I've become with their support. So thank you very much.
It's one of our core values here at Integrity Family, and you come from a family business, and I love the fact that you just talked about Blair and Asher and Levi and Malia, because family, that's why we do this, right? That's why we're working hard. We're trying to protect American families, and I love the fact that you just highlighted your own family, because that's the purpose here, and especially in times like these, as we've had a chance to maybe slow down a little bit, reflect a little bit, spend more time with family. It really it helps you realize kind of the priorities that you have. And so, Laura, thank you so much. We love you. Hope you have a blessed day, and really appreciate you blessing us. Well, everybody, we're excited to have tomorrow Mr. Todd Fincher from Tidewater. Todd was actually the first Integrity employee ever, and then left us to go and create this incredible business called Tidewater Management Group. And so I can't wait to have my good buddy Todd Fincher on the Inspire podcast tomorrow. We're going to have a lot of fun as well. So, Laura, thank you again. We love you. We appreciate you. Hope you guys have a great day. Give my best to your mom, your dad, to Ryan and Zeke as well, and as well as your family, Blair, Asher, Malia, and Mr. Levi. Love you guys. Hope you have a great day. Appreciate everybody's hard work. Excited to talk to y'all tomorrow. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you.